2 weeks before my wedding, I found out the two people I trusted most had betrayed me together. I need you to understand something before we go any further. This wasn't the kind of betrayal you can shrug off or cry through or heal from by talking to a therapist for 6 months. This was the kind that guts you in one blow. The kind that makes you question your own judgment, your own worth, your own reality. The kind that takes the life you were building and snaps it like a twig. And the worst part? The signs were there. Little things. Moments that didn't feel right, conversations that seemed too quiet, glances I didn't know how to interpret back then. But I brushed all of it aside. Because love makes you trust without evidence. And friendship makes you loyal even when you shouldn't be. My name is Elena, and this is the story of how my fiancé and my maid of honor, the two people who should have protected my heart, ended up smashing it behind my back, and how I made sure neither of them got to walk away clean. It started with a dress fitting. Not a dramatic one. Not the final glamorous appointment with champagne and happy tears. Just a simple midweek fitting meant to adjust the lace on the sleeves. My maid of honor, Tessa, insisted on coming with me. Said she wanted to be part of everything. And she had been from day one. She'd helped pick the venue, argued with vendors on my behalf, even surprised me with a custom bouquet sample. She was the kind of best friend people made Instagram posts about. Or so I thought. The fitting was normal. She laughed, she hyped me up. She told me I looked like a soft-spoken goddess, and that my fiancé Daniel would cry the moment he saw me walking down the aisle. It felt genuine. Her voice was warm, her hand steady as she fixed the train behind me. But there was one moment, a small one, that didn't sit right. When I stood on the podium and looked at myself in the mirror, I whispered, "I can't believe in 2 weeks I'll be married." And she flinched. Just for a second. Like the word married hurt. But she covered it fast. "I know, right? You're going to be a stunning bride." I convinced myself I imagined it. We finished the fitting, grabbed lunch afterward, and she acted perfectly normal. Chatty. Excited. Supportive. After we hugged goodbye, I went home feeling grateful that I had both a loving fiancé and a maid of honor who cared enough to be deeply involved. But that night something cracked. I noticed Daniel's phone lighting up over and over again. He usually kept it face down, but this time it lay screen up on the couch. The same name flashed repeatedly. Tessa. My chest tightened. I wasn't the insecure type. I wasn't controlling. I didn't snoop through phones, and I didn't question every female friend my partner had. But this, it didn't feel right. Why was she texting him so late? And why multiple times? I didn't say anything. I watched him walk into the kitchen, watched the phone light up again, watched his eyes shift when he returned and saw the notification still on the screen. He flipped the phone over. That was when I felt the first sharp sting of instinct, something is wrong. Still, I tried to stay calm. Maybe it was about the wedding. Maybe she was asking him something for the surprise she said she was planning. Maybe it was something harmless. But a knot formed in my stomach and refused to leave. The next day it got worse. I came home early from work. I didn't tell anyone I was coming home early. Not Daniel, not Tessa, no one. I just showed up because the office had a power outage and everyone was dismissed for the afternoon. And when I walked through the front door, I heard Daniel's laugh coming from the living room. A woman's laugh followed. Familiar one. My heart dropped so fast I felt dizzy. I stepped quietly, moving toward the living room like someone approaching a crime scene. And when I saw who was sitting on the couch with him, leaning too close, smiling too wide, it was her. Tessa. She jumped up immediately when she saw me. "Oh my God. Elena. You're home early," she said, voice slightly too bright. Daniel looked startled but tried to mask it with a casual smile. "We were just talking about the seating chart." The seating chart. I didn't believe that for a second, but I played along. "Okay," I said softly. "What part?" They both froze for half a beat, just long enough for me to notice. Then Daniel said, The front rows. You know, the VIP section." The VIP section. The part I'd already finalized a week ago. Tessa jumped in quickly. "We were thinking maybe it needs adjusting. But it's fine. Totally fine." I nodded slowly, feeling the pit in my stomach churn. I didn't explode. I didn't accuse. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just watched them. Their body language. Their tone. Their eyes. Everything felt staged. Fake. Like two people performing innocence because the real story was too dangerous to reveal. I stayed quiet. Quiet enough that they grew uncomfortable. Quiet enough that guilt started to leak through the cracks in their smiles. After Tessa left, Daniel came into the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. "Babe, are you okay? You seem tense." Tense. If only he knew the earthquake happening inside my chest. "I'm fine," I whispered. Because I wasn't reacting, not yet. I needed the truth first. 2 days later I got it. It was a Saturday afternoon. I went to pick up my altered dress. The boutique owner, a sweet older woman named Miriam, handed me the garment bag with a soft smile. "Your maid of honor was here earlier," she said. My stomach flipped. "Tessa? Why was she here?" "She came to double-check your veil choice," Miriam said casually. "Said she and your groom needed it to match. Something they were planning together." Something they were planning together? I froze. What exactly did she say? I asked. Miriam shrugged. Just that she and the groom needed to confirm details privately. They seemed very close. It's nice when the maid of honor and groom get along so well. Her words sliced through me like ice. Very close. Privately. Together. I walked out of the boutique with my dress, but my hands were trembling the whole way. My vision blurred. By the time I reached the car, tears were already forming. I took a shaky breath and opened my phone. And that's when I saw it. A message I wasn't supposed to see. When I opened Instagram earlier that morning, I had probably scrolled too fast. Because I accidentally liked one of Tessa's old posts from 2 years ago. I quickly unliked it, embarrassed. And now, apparently thinking I was creeping on her page, she sent me a DM. "LOL girl, you okay? Didn't expect you to be stalking my page today." I didn't respond, but because I opened her DM, Instagram automatically moved our chat to the top. And right under our conversation was a message preview from Daniel. Not to me. To her. "You free tonight? Same place." Same place. My heart stopped. They had a same place. They had recurring plans. They had a secret. And that was the moment the truth slammed into me so hard my knees nearly gave out. They were together. Not accidentally. Not spontaneously. Not recently. This was established. A pattern. A relationship behind my back. I sat in my car, chest heaving, fingers shaking, mind spiraling. I opened the message thread between them. It wasn't locked because Daniel wasn't exactly the smartest cheater alive. And what I found inside, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Messages. Flirty ones. Confessions. Dates. Meetups. And one message that made me drop the phone. "I can't wait until this wedding is over, and we don't have to sneak around." Sneak around. My fiancé. My maid of honor. Talking about sneaking around behind my back like it was a hobby. I felt the air disappear from my lungs. For a full minute I couldn't breathe. Then the shock turned into something colder. Sharper. Focused. I didn't scream. I didn't call them. I didn't confront them. I wiped my tears, tucked the dress into the back seat, and drove home with a silence so thick it felt like armor. Because this wasn't going to be loud revenge. This wasn't going to be messy or emotional or rushed. This was going to be strategic. Deliberate. Devastating. They had 2 weeks before the wedding. And I was about to make every single one of those days feel like the countdown to their own ruin. The first step was simple. I gathered evidence. Screenshots. Dates. Messages. Photos. Receipts. Everything. Then I backed it up twice. I didn't block them. I didn't change my behavior. I didn't give them a hint. I let them think I was clueless. Because the longer they believed that, the harder they would fall. The first opportunity came sooner than expected. The next day, Tessa texted me. "Dress shopping for my bridesmaid gown tomorrow. Wanna come?" My stomach twisted, but I typed, "Of course." She sent a heart emoji. I almost laughed. The next morning we met at the boutique. She was all smiles, too many smiles. Too friendly. Too excited about a wedding she was actively destroying. While she tried on dresses, she talked about Daniel. A lot. And not the usual best friend teasing stuff. She talked about him like someone who felt entitled to him. Someone who knew him on a level she shouldn't. "You know how he likes things simple," she said while adjusting a strap. My eyebrows lifted. Daniel didn't like things simple. He loved grand. He loved polished. He loved an audience. Her version of him wasn't the man I knew. It was the man he pretended to be for her. I nodded slowly and asked, "How do you know that?" She froze. Just for half a second. Then smiled too quickly. "Just from helping with planning. You know how it is." No, I didn't. But I kept quiet. I watched her swish the dress around, pretending everything was fine. Pretending she wasn't sleeping with the man who had asked me to spend forever with him. I excused myself, saying I had to take a call. I didn't. I stepped outside, leaned against the building, and let the cold air slap me back into focus. I thought, if she can lie this easily, if he can lie this effortlessly, then they deserve whatever is coming. I had no intention of calling off the wedding quietly. Quiet would have let them win. Quiet would have let them control the narrative. Quiet would have protected their reputations. No. I wanted the truth to come out exactly where it would hurt them most, at the altar. But not in the dramatic movie way. Not the "I object" way. Not the screaming, crying, cake-throwing way. I wanted precision. I wanted impact. I wanted them exposed so thoroughly that the embarrassment would follow them for years. Because I wasn't just a heartbroken bride. I was a woman who had been preparing for war in silence. Over the next few days I started planning. Not revenge for its own sake. Revenge with purpose. Revenge with clarity. Revenge with receipts. First, I reached out to everyone involved in the wedding: the planner, the caterer, the decorators, the photographer. I told them I needed updated copies of all contracts for organization. They sent everything. Then I reached out to the venue to confirm guest seating, microphone setup, timing of speeches. Because I wasn't planning to say, "I do." I was planning to say something else entirely. The kind of speech that would burn down the entire illusion they had built. But before that, I needed one last thing. Undeniable confirmation. Not just messages. Not just screenshots. Actual evidence that would silence any denial. That confirmation came the night before the rehearsal dinner. I told Daniel I was going to my mom's house to discuss wedding details. I didn't. I drove to the restaurant where he told Tessa to meet him. Yes, the one from the text I saw. I parked far enough that they wouldn't see me, but close enough that I had a view of the entrance. I waited. Heart pounding. Hands cold. Mind steady. At 8:14 p.m. she arrived. At 8:27 p.m. he arrived. I filmed everything. The hug. The kiss. The way they held each other. The way they sat close, laughing, whispering. Not friend close. Not accidental close. Intimate close. Then I filmed the moment that sealed their fate. Tessa leaned forward, touched his hand and said clearly, "I can't wait until the wedding is over and she's out of the picture." He laughed and said, "She'll be fine. She has no idea." My breath went cold. No idea. They had no idea who they were actually dealing with. I recorded everything, from the moment they sat down to the moment they left. My proof was airtight. Now, I was ready. The rehearsal dinner was the next night. Everyone sat around smiling, toasting, laughing. Daniel kissed my cheek. Tessa hugged me like a sister. My parents took pictures. I smiled in all of them. Because tomorrow the world they built on lies was going to collapse. Not in a fight. Not in chaos. But in a calm, controlled reveal that neither of them saw coming. And the best part? I wasn't going to walk away alone. I wasn't going to run. I wasn't going to hide. I was going to make sure that every single person who had loved me, supported me, and believed in us saw the truth with their own eyes. Tomorrow was supposed to be my wedding day. But it was going to be the day they learned what happens when you betray someone who loved you without hesitation. The day they realized I wasn't the naive bride they thought I was. I was the storm they never prepared for. The night after I walked out of that hotel room, I didn't sleep. I didn't cry either, not anymore. Something inside me had crossed a line I couldn't return from. Not bitterness. Not vengeance. Just clarity. Cold, sharp, painful clarity. I kept hearing the same sentence over and over in my head, looping like some broken record I couldn't shut off. They don't deserve the version of you they betrayed. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't poetic. It was just the truth. By morning I didn't need coffee. My body was running on something stronger, something between adrenaline and acceptance. The kind that kicks in when humiliation leaves your system and dignity starts stitching itself back together. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the wedding schedule, the reception seating chart, the vendor balance list, all the emails and payments and plans I'd once been excited about. It looked like someone else's life. Someone naive. Someone who believed her love was strong enough to last. I didn't recognize her anymore. And strangely, that felt like power. The house was quiet, too quiet. My wedding dress hung in the other room like a ghost. The veil draped over it like it was mourning something. Maybe it was. I opened my laptop. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. Only that I wasn't going to let them walk down an aisle and pretend everything was perfect while I stayed quiet. I wasn't going to let my fiancé marry me with the same hands he touched her with. And I wasn't going to let my maid of honor stand beside me wearing a smile she'd stolen from my face. But revenge wasn't the goal. Revenge is loud, messy, chaotic. What I felt was quieter than that. More precise. I wasn't going to ruin the wedding. I was going to ruin the moment they thought they won. And that demanded planning, not rage. Before anything else, I pulled out the copy of our marriage license application that the county clerk emailed weeks ago. My signature was there. His was there. Everything was ready to file. I stared at his name. I stared at the date. Then I whispered something I didn't expect. I don't want to marry you anymore. Hearing it out loud made something inside me settle. It also made the next step obvious. I drafted an email to the venue. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I'd like to place the wedding date on hold. Please do not release the booking, but freeze all preparations until further notice. It was polite, neutral, and not suspicious. I hit send. Then the florist, the photographer, the caterer, the decorator, the band. All of them received the same message. Everything paused. Everything stopped. Except me. I wasn't done. Around noon my phone buzzed. His name lit up the screen. Baby, please. Can we talk? This isn't what you think. Please pick up. Not what I think. He was inside her. She was calling him my love. The two people who promised to stand beside me stood with each other instead. I let the phone vibrate until it went still. 5 minutes later. Please, I'm begging you. Don't shut me out. We can fix this. Fix. The only thing broken was my belief that he'd never hurt me. Then the messages from my maid of honor came in. I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. I was drunk. It didn't mean anything. Please, can we meet? Meet? So she could cry and make herself the victim? So she could twist the story into an accident? So she could tell me she didn't mean to betray me? No. I needed distance. I needed truth without their voices poisoning it. And I needed control. For years, I was the type to fold myself small to make others comfortable. The type to smooth conflicts before they began. The type to carry guilt that wasn't mine. But betrayal changes you. It strips you down to your bones. And sometimes what's left is the version you should have been all along. Around evening, a strange calm came over me. Not peace, just focus. I grabbed my car keys and drove to my grandmother's house. She wasn't here anymore. She'd passed years before. But the house had remained in the family, untouched, quiet, full of her softness and her strength. She was the one who raised me. The one who taught me that dignity is worth more than diamonds. The one who told me, when someone betrays you, let them. But when you stand back up, make sure they see you. Her house still smelled like lavender and old books. I walked in, turned on a lamp, and sat at her dining table. The same place she used to tell me stories about women who survived more than broken hearts. I whispered into the empty room. Help me do this the right way. The right way didn't mean staying quiet. It didn't mean forgiving quickly. It didn't mean pretending everything was fine for the sake of appearances. The right way meant protecting myself, not destroying them. That's when the idea hit me. Not out of anger. Out of clarity. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to expose them publicly with drama or spectacle. I didn't need to confront them in a scene that would end with more pain than resolution. No, I needed something cleaner. Something undeniable. Something that returned all the power to me without giving them the satisfaction of seeing me break. It started with a letter. I pulled out one of my grandmother's old stationery sets. A cream envelope, gold edges, simple and elegant. She always said handwritten words have more weight. I began writing. I know what happened. You made your choice. And now I'm making mine. The wedding is off. I didn't scream. I didn't blame. I didn't accuse. I just laid out the truth like a blade on a table, sharp, clean, final. But I wasn't done. I wrote a second letter. To her. I didn't insult her or drag her. I didn't give her the chance to play innocent. I simply wrote, "You stood beside me and held my hand while planning a future you were helping destroy behind my back. That tells me everything I need to know about your loyalty and your heart. I don't want explanations. I don't want excuses. I don't want closure. We are done." When both letters were finished, I set them aside and started on something more important, my exit plan. I opened my laptop and canceled the honeymoon trip. The reservation was fully refundable. Good. Next, I checked the joint savings account we created for wedding expenses. My stomach tightened. More money was withdrawn than I expected. Multiple small transfers. Dates that didn't match payments to vendors. He wasn't just cheating. He was dipping into our funds. And that lit a fire under my calm. Not fury. Not rage. Just resolve. I printed the account statements, added them to the letters, and placed everything in 2 separate envelopes. Tomorrow they would get their truth. Delivered, undeniable, unshakable. No screaming. No scenes. Just the consequences they earned. When I left my grandmother's house, the night air felt different, colder, sharper. Like the world had shifted and I was stepping into a new version of myself. I slept deeply that night for the first time in days. The next morning I woke before sunrise. I dressed in simple clothes, tied my hair back, and drove to his apartment. I didn't knock. I didn't call. I slipped the envelope under his door and walked away before he could hear the rustle. Then I drove to her place and did the same. 2 drops. 2 truths. 2 endings. And the moment I slid that second envelope under her door, something in my chest loosened, like a knot finally untangling after pulling tight for too long. I didn't go home immediately. I parked at a quiet lakeside and just sat in the silence. The sun rose over the water, painting the sky in pink and gold. I felt my grandmother in that moment. Not literally, just her strength. I whispered, "It's done." Except it wasn't. Because consequences have a way of echoing. And theirs were only beginning. By noon his name lit up my phone again, but this time it wasn't a call. It was a storm. 20 messages back to back. "Baby, please, let's talk. I can explain. I swear it wasn't serious. We were drunk. I love you. Don't end us like this. We can fix it. Please, please, please." And then the shift. How could you cancel everything without telling me? Why did you freeze the payments? What were you doing checking the savings account? You're overreacting. You're being dramatic. Don't punish both of us over a mistake. A mistake? He lied. He cheated. He stole. That's 3 choices, not a mistake. Around 4 p.m. I finally sent one message back. Just one. "It's over. Take care." He called immediately, but I didn't answer. At 5:12 p.m. I got a message from her. A giant paragraph about how she was sorry, how she'd been weak, how she didn't know why she did it, how she'd been drunk, how guilt had been eating her alive. And then the line she shouldn't have written. "If you leave the wedding, everyone will blame me. Please don't do this." There it was. The truth behind the apology. She wasn't sorry for the betrayal. She was sorry for the consequences. I blocked her. That evening, I went to my mother's house. I knew she'd ask questions. I knew she'd worry. But I also knew I needed somewhere warm to land for a moment. Somewhere safe. She opened the door and saw my face before I even said a word. "What happened?" she whispered. Everything I'd been holding inside, that tight, controlled calm, broke the second she hugged me. Not dramatically. Just quietly. A single tear. A long, shaky breath. "I ended the wedding," I said. She didn't ask why. Not at first. She just held me. Later, when I told her the truth, every ugly, humiliating detail, she closed her eyes and nodded slowly. "I'm proud of you," she said softly. "You didn't let them ruin you." That night, I slept at her house. The next morning, the world began reacting. My phone buzzed nonstop. Some from his family. Some from friends. Some from cousins. Some from people who heard something but didn't know the whole story. The messages fell into 2 categories. People who blamed me for ending the engagement suddenly, and people who suspected the truth. But I didn't reply to any of them. Let the whispers do the work for me. Let their own actions follow them like shadows. By the third day the tone changed. People weren't asking why I canceled the wedding. They were asking, what did he do? What happened between them? Did she betray you? Did he cheat? We heard something. Their perfect little secret was cracking open on its own. I didn't say a word. Silence is powerful. Silence makes guilty people panic. Silence makes liars contradict themselves. By day 5 they weren't just exposed, they were drowning in their own excuses. He showed up at my mother's house. Bang 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 on the door. Please, please talk to me. My mother stepped outside. You need to leave. Please, I love her, he begged. Then he said something that made my mother's face go cold. It wasn't just us. She told me things about her, things she said behind her back. My mother raised a hand. Stop lying. And stop blaming her for your betrayal. Leave. He left. And I didn't see him again. A week passed. Then 2. Life moved on slowly, with this strange mix of heaviness and freedom. I'd wake up some mornings with tears dried on my cheeks. Other mornings, I'd wake up strangely grateful for the escape I'd been handed. 2 weeks after everything collapsed, I went back to the apartment to pack up the last of my things. When I walked in, the place felt unfamiliar. It wasn't home. It was a place where love died quietly long before I saw the proof. I boxed my clothes, my books, the gifts my grandmother gave me, everything that belonged to me. Then as I was about to leave, I saw a framed engagement photo on the shelf. The smile on my face was bright, bright enough to break my heart. I picked up the frame, and for the first time since the betrayal I laughed. Not a bitter laugh, not a mocking laugh. Just a soft, exhausted laugh at how hard I once fought for someone who gave up easily. I set the frame face down on the shelf. Not broken. Not thrown. Just no longer displayed. As I walked out of that apartment for the last time, I whispered something I didn't expect. Thank you. Not to them. To the universe. For ending it before I tied my life to a lie. The drive home was peaceful. My heart didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt open. Ready. A month later, something unexpected happened. I got a message from a woman I didn't know. She wrote, I heard what happened. I just wanted to tell you you made the right choice. They were seeing each other behind your back longer than people think. You didn't lose anything. You escaped. For a moment my hands froze over the screen. Not because it hurt, but because it confirmed what I'd already sensed. Their betrayal wasn't a moment. It was a pattern. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I'd already left the fire. There was no reason to walk back into the smoke. Months passed. I started healing slowly. I started rediscovering pieces of myself I'd forgotten. I started laughing again, real laughter, not the kind forced for photos or wedding meetings. I started living. And one day, while sitting in a quiet cafe with sunlight spilling across the table, I had a thought so simple it shocked me. I'm happier now. Not fixed. Not healed entirely. Just lighter. Some scars still ache. Some nights still hurt. Some memories still pinch. But pain fades. Self-respect doesn't. What they did will follow them forever. Not because I said anything, but because betrayal has a way of exposing people over time. People eventually saw them together. Whispers turned into certainty. Certainty turned into opinions. And their reputations shaped themselves without my voice. I didn't have to destroy anything. Their choices did it for them. As for me, I moved into my own place. Small, quiet, sunlight in the mornings, peaceful in the evenings. I filled it with plants, soft blankets, books I love, laughter, warm meals, new memories, no lies. Sometimes when I'm curled up on the couch with tea, I think back to the girl who planned that wedding so carefully. The girl who thought love would protect her. The girl who believed loyalty meant something. I don't pity her. I don't resent her. I honor her. She tried. She trusted. She loved with her whole heart. That's not weakness. That's strength. And leaving the moment she discovered the truth? That's power. People ask what I would say if I ever saw them again. The answer is simple. Nothing. Some chapters don't need closure. Some stories don't need a final conversation. Some people don't deserve a single more word. I didn't lose them. I lost the illusion of them. And that's the best thing that ever happened to me. If you've ever been betrayed like that by someone you loved and someone you trusted, tell me, what did you do? Did you walk away immediately? Or did it take time? Did it break you for a moment? Or did it teach you something you never forget? And if you haven't experienced something like this, what's the worst betrayal you've ever recovered from? Because sometimes our strongest moments come from the pain we thought would destroy us. And I promise you, you deserve better than the people who couldn't see your worth. Subscribe for more real stories of betrayal, justice, and revenge.